Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone. Great to have everybody here. Jimmy Carter has passed away at the age of 100. It was a presidency that I remember fairly well. I was young back in the 1970s. But, it obviously left a lasting impression on me. Jimmy Carter, I never could relate to. He wasn't really my kind of president. But somehow I feel more of a sense of loss tonight than I thought I would with the passing of Jimmy Carter. He was a kind man, a gentle man, and he will be missed. We'll talk about that along with today's other top stories of the day, including Adrian Ditmann. Who is Adrian Ditmann? Could be Elon Musk, or his digital twin, or artificial intelligence, or something. We'll look at that too. It's kind of weird.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV.
The entire world is watching.
On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
So, the passing of Jimmy Carter, it's one of those moments, I think, where it will stick with me in sort of the same way as some other milestone news events through time have. Those events where you sort of remember where you were when you found out about something. So former President Jimmy Carter, of course, passing away today at the age of 100 rather. Now, Carter was no stranger to the spotlight, both during and after his presidency, but it's his time in the White House that, we're going to look at a little bit here tonight. The good, the bad, and the downright challenging. And today, as I say, maybe it's one of those moments for you. I suppose for someone who grew up at a time when Carter was in the White House, this moment resonates with me because it brings back so many vivid memories. And this will stick with me as well, this moment in this way from this report.
This is an ABC News special report. The death of President Jimmy Carter.
I'm Mary Bruce at ABC News headquarters in New York. We are coming on the air at this hour because we have just learned that former President Jimmy Carter, the 39th President of the United States, has died. He was 100 years old. His passing comes just over a year after the death of former First Lady Rosalynn Carter, his beloved wife of 77 years and childhood sweetheart, the couple inseparable in life and even in death. Jimmy Carter attending his wife's memorial service, determined to be there, to be with her, despite being in hospice care since February of last year. The service for Mrs. Carter also attended by President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden, along with the former President Bill Clinton, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and former First Ladies Michelle Obama, Laura Bush, and Melania Trump. The former president had several health setbacks in recent years. The Carter Center announced after a series of short hospital stays, he had decided to end further medical treatments. He chose to receive hospice care at his home for the remainder of his life. Rosalynn Carter also entered hospice care in the final days of her life after being diagnosed with dementia. A lifetime together, the couple celebrated their 77th wedding anniversary in July of 2023. A one-term president, Jimmy Carter faced domestic setbacks, a challenging economy, and the Iranian hostage crisis during his 4 years in office. The former president and first lady, though, may be best known for what they accomplished after their time in the White House. Jimmy Carter transforming the traditional role of ex-presidents by remaining a public figure and traveling the globe as a fierce defender of human rights through the establishment of the Carter Center. Like her husband, Mrs. Carter was devoted to public service. She was also a staunch mental health advocate and humanitarian. A lifetime together, they were partners in every sense of the word.
Yeah, and the Iranian hostage crisis, I mean, it really crippled his presidency. Boy, it sure was different back then when the hostages were taken and held. There was every single night on newscasts, they had a graphic up on the screen on television reminding people of how many days those hostages had been in captivity. What a contrast to today, where we have hostages still being held by Hamas, and you rarely actually hear about them in any media, either mainstream or independent. Completely different times, completely different attitudes. Boy, how times have changed. I must say, it's really striking. So Carter took office back in 1977. He had high hopes at that time and big promises, but his term was anything but smooth. He had the misfortune of presiding over one of those, well, it was really one of the most turbulent periods in recent U.S. history. The hostage crisis, that was in November of '79. Radical students in Iran stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. They took 66 Americans hostage for 444 days. And this crisis was not just a headache, but a political disaster for Carter. His attempts at negotiation didn't go anywhere. And then there was that infamous Operation Eagle Claw, a rescue mission which ended in tragedy. 8 American servicemen lost their lives, and the operation was a complete fiasco, leaving Carter's image of competence in tatters. I remember the helicopters in the desert and the failure of that. It just stained his presidency and his reputation. It crippled him from that point on. And if that wasn't enough, the economy under Carter, I remember. I as much as I have respect for the former president and the humanitarian work he did, especially through Habitat for Humanity, I also remember the high inflation combined with high unemployment and stagnant demand. Inflation hit nearly 14% in 1980, and unemployment wasn't far behind. The term malaise didn't come from nowhere. People felt it in their wallets, at the grocery store, and when they looked at their bills. They even began to see it in their motor vehicles, too, as pollution controls were increased and performance of engines decreased. And on the topic of automobiles, As always, then and now, oil prices topping the agenda and concern for people. Back in Carter's day, the energy crisis was very, very real. OPEC had jacked up oil prices, leading to long lines at gas stations. I remember those, and skyrocketing fuel costs. Carter tried to promote energy conservation and alternative energy sources, but the public was not in the mood for lectures on sweaters and solar panels when they were dealing with something that was very threatening to them and their way of life, their quality of life at the time, and that being high gas prices. By 1980, gas prices had increased significantly, adding to the public's frustration and Carter's political woes. Despite those challenges, or perhaps because of them, Carter's legacy is a complex one. He's remembered for his integrity, his post-presidential humanitarian work, and his commitment to peace. Like the Camp David Accords, however, his time in office is often viewed through the lens of these crises. The Iran hostage crisis and economic turmoil, which played a significant role in his defeat by Ronald Reagan in 1980. And Reagan really kind of showing Carter up as the hostages were released, as Reagan was en route to be sworn in as the new president. And so tonight, as we reflect on the life of Jimmy Carter, we're reminded of a presidency that was defined by its challenges as much as by its achievements. He was a man who, despite the political blows that he suffered, he never lost his moral compass or his dedication to service. And so, yes, I think we will all miss you, Jimmy Carter. I certainly will. Even though I was not a Democrat then and I'm not a Democrat now, I certainly have respect for you. And if you were alive today, given the state of things, I might vote for you. We need more people like Jimmy Carter today. Where are they? Just people who are true patriots. World leaders sending their thoughts, their prayers to America tonight. Justin Trudeau among them. Trudeau posting on social media. I will bring it up for you. Here he is. It says Jimmy Carter's legacy is one of compassion, kindness, and empathy, and hard work. He served others both at home and around the world his entire life. And he loved doing it. He was always thoughtful and generous with his advice to me. My deepest condolences to the Carter family, his many loved ones, and the American people who are mourning a former president and a lifelong humanitarian. May his selfless service continue to inspire us all for years to come. And we'll just do a quick Twitter scroll here and show you the other posts that are coming in tonight in memory of Jimmy Carter. Yeah, so Mario Knopfel reposting something here. Jimmy Carter, former Southern governor known for his honesty and determination, was elected president in 1976. After facing economic struggles and the Iran hostage crisis, he lost his bid for re-election in 1980. Franklin Graham, Reuters news piece, Daily Monitor. Many, many news stories tonight. And he was a peanut farmer. And I remember when he was, when he first was seeking the nomination, he was an underdog. Nobody even saw him coming. Really, they didn't. And somehow he overcame it all. He was the underdog who managed to overcome the odds. And in many respects, he was, I think, one of the closest things America has ever had to an everyman or a common man who made it all the way to the White House. Maybe J.D. Vance would come close to filling that role in the future, and certainly as the vice president, I guess you could argue that he kind of takes on that role now. But Carter certainly was kind of close to that, a farmer, a peanut farmer, not sort of your glossy, high-tech multi-billionaire like Elon Musk. And there's the helicopters that I mentioned before. Yeah, as part of that attempted rescue of the hostages, it fell apart, and the helicopters crashed, and the whole mission became a disaster. End of an era. 1970s, 1980s, Reagan. Carter, then Reagan. And boy, things changed. And quickly. And some people are trying to equate, I think, the changing of the guard right now to that kind of era, but no, what's going on right now is much, much different. Jimmy Carter. Yeah, he will be missed by a lot of people. I'll be right back.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
So we saw Justin Trudeau's post about Jimmy Carter. He's also posted this. I know, we're all expecting him to leave. To get kicked out of the Liberal Party even. There seems to be mounting pressure that way, and we're looking at a Conservative Party maneuver to try to force a confidence vote on January 7th. But Trudeau still doesn't sound like he's going anywhere. Yeah, he posted a video looking forward to the new year and 2025, and the language makes it sound like he's planning on sticking around in spite of all the turmoil that he's facing.
2025 is just around the corner, and that means that we're almost in an election year. Our Liberal plan has been investing in you to deliver $10 a day childcare, dental care, and pharmacare, and more affordable homes. But our work to build a strong economy that works for all Canadians isn't done. And all of our progress is at stake with Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party pushing for deep cuts to the programs Canadians rely on. Only with your support can we keep building a better future for everyone.
I don't know. It's hard to read that because it's sort of an advertorial for JT and the Liberal Party heading into the new year, an election year. Regardless, we'll be going to the polls at some point. It just depends on whether it will be early in 2025 or at the end of 2025 next fall. But it's coming, so buckle up one way or another. Sounds like he wants to hang on. He's got a big ego, and he's got that name. So, yeah, don't count the guy out. He's strategizing. He's looking for a way. I still think he'll go. I think he's going to be forced to. They'll show him the light as they show him the door, I think, in the new year. Now, while all that's going on, we've still got these protests going on, these pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas protests this weekend in various places across Canada, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver. We've got this one here. This is at in a Montreal area mall. I'll just give you a little taste of this again. And this stuff is really eroding public support for these protesters. They closed this store down. So that combined with the protests in the streets, like this one. Oh, well, actually, this is a different angle. Same protest. I think this is just a different angle on the same protest. I'll run this too. Well, we've got this one queued. Here it is. Actually, I think this is in Toronto. Yeah. Yeah, they don't like that store. Yeah. Zionists, you see. Yeah. I just want to cover off some of these other top stories of the day before we get into this Adrian Ditmann bit. There was a possible explosion. Let me just get you the latest on this. Yeah, police and firefighters were called to the scene of potential explosion at a Metro Vancouver strip mall earlier today. This mall, or this plaza, was at 341 North Road in Coquitlam, British Columbia. It happened around 6 a.m., and when first responders arrived, they saw thick black smoke coming out of one of the units. And there was glass blown out all through the parking lot, possibly from an explosion in one of the units. So we're following that. A lot of damage, man. I'll tell you, huge. I'm not sure what to make of it. But there's a lot of weird stuff going on right now. There's that, and then these plane crashes. Let me see if I can get you video of that explosion. And we have video of this crash landing in Halifax as well. So I've got that coming up in just a moment. And yeah, I do have images here from the explosion in Coquitlam. And there it is. And as you can see, the whole facade of that building right there is blown right over and blown right off. So very strange. We'll get more information on that, I would expect, by this time tomorrow to have more details to share with you. Yeah, and then there's this, I mean, this is in Halifax. Transportation Safety Board is investigating this crash landing. It's an incident involving a plane at Halifax Stanfield International Airport. Described by passengers as a rough landing, to say the least, that sparked flames. And when we're talking rough, I mean, we are talking rough. This is scary stuff. Here, let me show you. We'll run the video. It speaks for itself. And yeah, that's what I would call a rough landing. Yeah, so officials say that this plane, an Air Canada aircraft, experienced some sort of a landing gear problem, and it was unable to reach the terminal. And the crew and 73 passengers were offloaded by bus, and miraculously, in this case, no injuries. None. Hard to believe, eh? Truly, truly hard to believe. And here's a wider shot of the aircraft. As you can see right there. Definitely a problem with the landing gear, as it sits lopsided where it came to rest. And there have been other plane crashes as well. In the last 24 hours. There's that Azerbaijan aircraft that was shot down by Russia. We're being told that it was shot down by Russian air defense. It appears to have been accidental. And then we've got this other incident. It has now turned out to be the deadliest air accident ever in South Korea, killing 179 people. Over the last 24 hours, this involved an airliner belly landing and skidding off the end of a runway, erupting in a fireball as it slammed into a wall at Muan International Airport. 2 crew members survived. They're being treated for various injuries. And this involved a twin-engine Boeing 737. Let me see if I can get you the most recent video on that as well. I know there are a number of different clips of it. Here it is right here. Just again, very strange, and it seems like we get these kinds of stories in clusters, you know. Here's what it looked like.
들어온 제보에 따르면 비행기는 착륙 중에 랜딩 기어가 내려오지 않았고 착륙한 뒤 활주로를 이탈해 공항 담장 잭까지가 폭발했다고 합니다. 다시 한번 전해드리겠습니다. 오늘 오전 9시 10분쯤 전남 무안공항에서 들어온
And again, that appears to have been something that involved a malfunction of possibly landing gear. So that's still under investigation as well. And those people in Halifax, darn lucky, I'll tell you that. Now, JT still hanging on by the skin of his teeth as Trump continues to position himself ahead of these upcoming USMCA negotiations and the rhetoric that he has been unleashing about Canada being the 51st state and threats of these 25% tariffs, all still causing quite a lot of chaos here in Canada. And there are some who say that it's all part of a grander plan, a bigger plan, that we should be taking all of this stuff seriously. And yeah, I think there's actually a PSYOP element to all of this too. I think that's fairly evident, and I don't think I'm alone in that assessment. This video, I've seen a few people, even some influencers that I'm aware of, I'm familiar with, coming out even within the last day saying, yeah, I want to join the USA. In a couple of cases, people who call themselves patriots or freedom fighters, not fighting at all. They're not ready to defend Canada. They're ready to throw in the towel, bend the knee, and start waving the stars and the stripes instead of the maple leaf. And this guy here, he is thinking, yeah, the annexation of Canada might not be such a bad thing. But he is, what makes me think this is actually a PSYOP is because whoever put this together, whoever this guy is, the information he's sharing is designed to sugarcoat this whole thing and really sell it to you. And he's not, what he's saying is not accurate. Maybe you've seen this guy, maybe you haven't, maybe you want to comment on it. I'll run it. You tell me what you think.
And the fuckery continues, folks. I'll tell you, I've never been more embarrassed in my entire life to be Canadian. I travel a lot for work. I'm in the United States all the time. And I'm constantly trying to defend myself when I'm being peppered with questions about what's going on with their neighbors up north. And to be honest, it's hard to give them an answer. I don't really understand it myself. How did we get here? How did we fucking get here? What happened over the last 9 years? Well, I'll tell you what happened. We let a narcissistic egomaniac run the country, which many of you supported, pushing his ideological agendas that made no sense down every Canadian's throat. And he has single-handedly dismantled any sense of cultural identity in this country. He's ruined our country. It's happened. And the question is, can we actually come back from this? Will Poilievre actually make a difference when he comes in? So what? He's going to axe the carbon tax. Big deal. The damage is already done. And then we have people like Donald Trump laughing at Canadians, and rightly so, I might add, calling us the 51st state. And then we get all of our members of parliament and the leaders of those parties say, we'll never become the 51st state. Well, wait a minute. Maybe we should become the 51st state. And think about this here. Before you get mad, think about this. We've lost our cultural identity. And as a matter of fact, when you really look at it, our country was established in 1867 from land we stole from the indigenous people. We murdered and raped and pillaged and took the land on a deal that was advantageous to us, and we segregated an entire community and probably committed genocide. And this is our country now. Well, I'm not really sure. Like, when you look at it, and you look at it over the last couple of 100 years, do we even have the right to have this country anymore? And maybe we should become the 51st state. And think about this. If Canada became the 51st state, our national debt, $1.2 trillion, would be wiped away. Gone. Interesting. We could dismantle a number of different governmental institutions and get rid of them. The CRA. There's been a 40% increase in government employees since this dickhead has been in power. We could get rid of the CRA entirely. We could simplify our tax, one of the most complicated tax systems in the world. We become a state, we could operate independently, we could deregulate, we could become one of the wealthiest states in the Americas. If we increased our oil production by 30%, we could become a tax-free state. And here's the real kicker. What if they took our dollar at par? Your $1 Canadian turns into $1.40 American. People could become rich overnight. I mean, it's not as easy as that. And yes, there might be challenges, but maybe it's not such a bad idea. We become the state of Canada. We become part of the United States. We strengthen our military. They're already our biggest trading partner. We're already really a part of them anyway. So maybe that wouldn't be such a bad idea. Just maybe there's more of a tactful way to do it. Because otherwise, I don't know how Poilievre's going to come in here and fix the damage that's already been done. It's irreparable. It's irreparable. Every facet of government would need to be rebuilt. And I just don't know if it's possible. But maybe we could have a clean slate and start again. Start as a state. We love our American neighbors, do we not? I don't know. What do you think? Is it a bad idea? You tell me. What if you could get a new lease on life? What if you could start fresh? What if you could start with no debt? That might not be a bad idea. It could change a lot of people's lives overnight. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Sure, I'll tell you what I think. I think you're an idiot. And I think you're lying. And I think that you're part of a sales campaign or something. Yeah, that guy is a freaking deceiver. First of all, it's not, he says, and Donald Trump is insulting us, and rightly so. No, it's not right for him to be using that kind of language at all. It's entirely inappropriate. I've talked about it since the first day that he used those words, 51st state. No, that's totally inappropriate for the President of the United States. And then, as much as he makes it sound like he's upset about Trudeau saying that Canada is a country with no culture of its own, he embraces that. He's on board with that. He's already given up on Canada. Oh, so just because Justin Trudeau has said that Canada doesn't have its own culture, he goes with it. But it's not true. Canada is a very unique country. We have a very unique, not just one, but many, many unique cultures within Canada. You travel from province to province to province, and even in different areas of different provinces, you'll find different kinds of cultures. It makes Canada very unique. The people in Newfoundland are very different than the people in Quebec, and they're very different than the people you will find in various areas out in BC. And it's just true. Even in Northern Ontario, you'll find, a heavier French Canadian influence culture than you will in Southern Ontario, where I live, where we're very kind of Americanized. And I kind of like where I live. I like the American influence that we have here, but I also greatly appreciate the other flavors of culture that I experience when I travel through the country. It's all very Canadian, and it all kind of blends together at the end, and it's what makes Canada Canada. And then, of course, he's talking very much like an anti-colonialist, a lefty, when he starts talking about the way the country was formed, accusing Canada of genocide, when in fact our relationship with First Nations peoples is considerably different than it was in the United States, and people are really not fully aware of our history. They really kind of conflate U.S. history with ours because they watch so much U.S. television and so many U.S. movies. So it is a different kind of relationship and history we have with First Nations, and we have been more a country of compromise than conquest. And that is what has made Canada great in many respects. It's also what is leaving Canada vulnerable to, I would say, systemic political attacks today, but that's something that requires further scrutiny and discussion on another night. And then he tells you a giant lie. He says that our federal debt of $1.2 trillion would just miraculously be swept away if Canada were to join the United States. Do you really believe that? First of all, I don't see how that could possibly be possible unless you just default on all of those financial deals. All the goods, the services, the deals that have been made, the bonds that have been sold, the treasury bills, the money that's been invested in Canada? No. Do you really think that that's just going to be wiped away and that the people who pumped the money into Canada in various ways are just going to accept that? No. And would we do that? No. We wouldn't just not pay. People are holding bonds, and some of those people, honestly, are not even outside the country. So a lot of those people are you. Do you have a Canada Savings Bond, or do you have an RSP or other investments that you've made that are backed by the federal government? Well, then you're holding some of that debt yourself. If all of that debt is wiped away, then you might not get your money back either. That's not the way it would work. Not at all. That's a lie, and I think he knows that. And then he talks about getting rid of the CRA as though that's some magical thing. I don't think that guy even knows what the CRA is. Do you guys know what the CRA is? Oh, we can get rid of the CRA, and we've had a 40% increase in the number of government employees because of the CRA, he says. Do you know what the CRA is? No, but it sounds great, right? Oh, well, yeah, let's get rid of the CRA. Well, yeah, I guess we would be getting rid of the CRA if we became part of the United States of America, because the federal level of government would certainly cease to exist in its current form anyway if we became just a state within the United States instead of a sovereign nation state with our own federal government and the right to self-determination. The CRA is the Canada Revenue Agency. It's our tax department. Whoop-de-doo. I don't think he even, he's, yeah, okay, we got rid of the CRA, but you're just going to be dealing with the IRS. You're just trading one for the other. And he says that we have the most complicated tax system in the world. I'm not so sure that that's really true. I think that the U.S. tax system, it might even be more complicated than what we have here right now. Tax rates, yes, they are lower in the United States, but they also don't get as many government services back on the other side. They don't get socialized health care, and you wouldn't be getting that here either in that way. So this is not as simple as he's playing it all out, as he's suggesting. And then he talks about increasing oil production by 30%, which may or may not happen. And if that does happen, I'm not sure what the pricing would be or what that would mean for, say, Alberta. You would lose your sovereignty in some way, your provincial sovereignty and your control over resources, I think, in many respects, because in Canada, provincial governments have jurisdiction over energy and resources, and the federal government kind of deals with interprovincial trade and transport of such assets and commodities in between provinces. It's a complex relationship, but provinces largely have control over that. You join the United States, and they're going to come up here and you're likely not going to have as much say directly over what happens with the resources in your province, because Canada, if it became just a state, a single state, or even maybe a couple of states, then you are going to be forced to share decision making with a larger group of people. Maybe all the people in Canada would be making the decision on a provincial or a state level. And then the federal government in the United States would also have its say over what you do in a much more forceful manner. It's not what this guy is, it would not be the way this guy is laying it out at all. Not at all. It's what he's selling you is a giant lie. And then he says, wouldn't it be great if they just took our dollar at par? If we hello, idiot. If we become part of the United States, there will no longer be a Canadian dollar at all. So they would have some sort of a program in place where the Canadian dollar would then be replaced by the US dollar. We would adopt that currency to become part of the United States. You'd have to cash in your Canadian dollars, and they would very likely, I would think, maybe give you market value for whatever your currency is worth at any given time in the cycle. What would you get for it? Don't know, but it's unlikely you would get $1 US for one Canadian dollar, instantly giving you about a 30 or 40% profit or increase in value in your savings. That's very unlikely that would happen. You would be given market value for your Canadian dollar at the time. Whatever the exchange rate is, that would be converted into US dollars, and you would be converted to US currency, and the Canadian dollars, all Canadian currency, would be retired. That would be the end of the Canadian dollar. So again, another lie. They're not going to wipe out all of our debt. They're not going to wipe out all of your debt. That's the other thing he sort of alluded to, as though your debt would be eliminated, so that if you've got credit card debts, whatever, that might even be gone. He didn't come right out and say it, but I took note of his language, and I think some people might mistakenly think that that's what he's peddling there. And then he says that we would increase the size and the scope of our military. Well, that's because we would instantly become part of the United States, and the U.S. military would be on our soil instantly. And this would become their territory, theirs to defend, theirs to put any kind of weapons on, military bases, anything they want. We wouldn't have any say in where anything goes, which we do right now. And we allow U.S. troops on our soil. We've got NORAD because we're an ally, but we have a say over what goes on here. And remember, when cruise missiles were first being developed and were being tested over Canadian airspace, the Canadian government had some say over how those kinds of flight tests were conducted within our country, because we're a sovereign nation state. Now, we become part of the United States, and they're going to do whatever the heck they want up here with their military. We don't have any say in it. In addition to that, you're worried about going to war? You don't want your sons and daughters being drafted to go to war? If you're part of the United States and you're part of the biggest military in the world, and you have an obligation for a variety of reasons, including some treaties and other agreements that are in place around the world since World War II to defend other nations, if there's a war and the United States is involved, your sons and daughters might be drafted into the U.S. military, because we would be part of the U.S., and you wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Heck, if you are living in the United States and you want to dodge the draft, as we saw during the Vietnam War, those kinds of people wouldn't have any place to run to because we would be part of the United States. So yeah, our military would maybe be bigger, but it wouldn't necessarily make us more secure. In fact, in some respects, we would be targeted more aggressively, even by ICBMs, nuclear weapons from Russia. If we become part of the United States, any place there's a military base, military assets, industrial assets within Canada, more likely that we would be hit with an attack here in Canada because of that. There are places in Canada that I know are always targeted right now. So if there were to be a nuclear conflict, certain targets, and especially in industrial areas, would likely be hit with nuclear weapons in Canada. But more places would likely be hit if we were part of the United States. Now, I'm willing to share the risk in order to reap the benefits of peace through strength and enjoying the protection of living under the nuclear umbrella of the United States since World War II. We've enjoyed our freedoms to this point, and I think Canada should be contributing to that in a fair and proper way, proportionally to what we're supposed to be paying. I totally get that. And there are benefits that come with that and certain risks. But I also like the fact that we still enjoy and maintain our own level of sovereignty here, our own level of decision making. So we decide if we get involved in any particular conflict. Even the Iraq War, when you think back to what happened at that time, and most of you guys in the audience probably have forgotten about this, or maybe you're not old enough to remember or even know, but Canada did not really fully participate in the Iraq War. The United States went in. You know, I remember Iraq invading Kuwait, which was the prelude to things to come later. Bush Sr. did not, when they expelled the Iraqi troops from Kuwait, they didn't venture all the way into Iraq. He stopped at the Iraqi border. And then when Bush Jr. took the reins later, then we got the Iraq War and the whole weapons of mass destruction issue that came up at that time as well, and we know a lot about what happened with that. And in the case of Canada, there was a debate in Parliament about whether we should or we shouldn't be fully involved in that war at that time. And the Liberal government, I think it was Chrétien, who was in power at the time, took the position that no, Canada should not be involved. The Liberals were opposed to it. And so we were only there really in a support role. We weren't actually involved in the conflict, as I recall. Not certainly in a full capacity way. And that again was because we are our own governing nation state. And as much as we are an ally of the United States, we do not take marching orders from the White House. No, we don't. And so if we don't want to go to war, we don't go to war. And we deal with that consequentially on both sides of any equation. And so, yeah, this is the thing. People need to open the other eye. This guy's trying to sell you on this. Why? Because he's part of a psyop, in my view. He's part of some sort of a campaign in order to get you to embrace this idea. And other people, I see it too. Videos out there from people who I think know what's going on politically more than they're letting on internationally, and through probably some sort of a network that exists out there. And I'll just kind of leave it at that with regard to that. But there's a lot more going on with this 51st state stuff than meets the eye. Of that, I am certain. And that video right there, that's a sales pitch. He wants you to buy, and he wants you to buy now. Well, you better think, and think very carefully, because that one little video there, which made joining the United States sound so darn enticing. Well, that was just full of so many falsehoods that it made me nauseous. Careful what you agree to, folks, because if you get it, you're probably going to want your country back after. Stay with me.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Yeah, and all this talk of the 51st state, it's still creating buzz on mainstream media, independent media. A lot of people still talking about it. It's generating a lot of talk up here in Kanakistan land. Oh yeah. And I totally get that people are frustrated, upset with what's going on with the government, but there's an election coming. Yes, there is. And just like in the United States, people get to vote. Well, anyway, let's just listen to this clip on Fox.
The Danes can either put the frigate that's necessary there, they can put the air wings, they can put the missiles in Greenland, and they can put the infantry there that they need to defend the country, just like the Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia are doing in Eastern Europe. Or they can pay us to do it, and we'll do it, but they can cover the cost of the defense. Or if they don't want to do either of those things, they can let us buy Greenland from them, and Greenland can become part of Alaska. I mean, the native people in Greenland are very closely related to the people of Alaska, and we'll make it a part of Alaska. But they can't have it. The U.S. can't defend it for nothing. And the days of the U.S. taxpayer defending Western Europe and kingdoms in Europe and defending their empire for nothing, those days are over. And we love the Danish people. They're great. Denmark's a wonderful place. Copenhagen is a wonderful city. But they've got to do their part. They can't have this vast empire and then not defend it and leave it to the U.S. to do it. So we're going to either buy it, they're going to defend it, or they can pay us to defend it. But it's no more free riding, even for people we love like the Danes.
I got news for that guy. Okay, the United States, with their military base and the radar warning systems that are in place in Greenland, they're not there so much to defend Greenland, pal. Okay? They're there to defend the United States. The United States needs that there to defend the frickin' United States. You're lucky Greenland isn't charging you rent. You know why? Because you need early warning for any missiles coming your way. All right? So if you don't want a missile up your butt, you should be thanking and kissing the butts of the people of Denmark and the people in Greenland, because without that base and the early warning radar systems through NORAD and what you have in place in the Arctic in Canada, yeah, we provide the early warning. So wake the hell up and start working with us instead of treating us like an enemy or an adversary or just some customer. Because we're not. We're partners, we're allies, we're your brothers, your sisters, we're your friends. And we need to be working together. That's a load of crap and one-sided and arrogant, and I can't tell you how insulting that is. And I'm speaking as a Canadian, looking on the outside in this case at what you're saying about Greenland. No, you need access to Greenland to protect your butt. It's the other way around, pal. So, yeah. Maybe you're just lucky that we don't send you a bill for rent. What the hell's going on? We're not going to pay to defend that. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Go home. Go home. Pack up all your electronics. Take your radar systems. Go home. See what happens. I guess you've got satellites now. Maybe you don't need the base there. And if that's the case, what the hell do you care? If you don't care, go home. Why are you there to begin with? Well, you're there defending Greenland, are you? No, I don't think so. No. We just had a guy call in a few nights ago. He said, if you were invaded, we wouldn't defend Canada. Yeah, well, so now we know what all those bases in the Arctic are for too, right? Okay, no problem. I love having you guys there. We want you there. It helps us too, right? Because we don't want to get nuked. But the reason people want to nuke us is because we're friends with you. Okay? So our risk is because of you. People want to blow us up because we're friends with you. Just saying. And that's okay. But can we not maybe working together? And being a little more realistic about these things? A crack in the relationship. Oh, we need some marriage counseling. Not that I really want a full-blown marriage. I think our relationship has worked pretty well for the past, over 150 years in Canada as a nation state with the U.S. Less well since 9/11, as border restrictions have become more severe. But that's a sign of the times, I suppose. Now, I don't want to harp too much on that. It's just very strange times all around. So strange that I can't tell what's real, what isn't anymore, especially on social media. Elon Musk, after purchasing Twitter and turning it into X, says it's a free speech platform, but the more I see what's going on with it, the more I'm beginning to wonder what the hell it's really all about over there. Now, because of this family feud within MAGA over the work visa issue, immigration over the past few days, I've been a little more focused on Elon Musk and what he's doing, both with Trump and online. And as a result, I became aware of Elon Musk's alter ego. Now, I don't know if anybody else is familiar with this or not, but there's this guy online. His name is Adrian Ditmann. There's an account on X, and it's not clear if Adrian Ditmann is a different person or if Adrian Ditmann might actually be Elon Musk using a different name, or if Adrian Ditmann might just be some sort of bot or artificial intelligence entity. But Adrian Ditmann, whoever it is, has been conducting X Spaces. And there are other people who have been popping up in, there was one here over the last couple of days. And it's attracting both real people and people that appear to be using alter egos as well. Maybe, and it's not clear who these people are, but the voices are extremely familiar. And some people are convinced that Adrian Ditmann is Elon Musk. And the posts, the X space that I listened to, it is all kind of weird. And I suppose it's appropriate that this is going on X at a time when we can't tell what the hell is real, what isn't, what's posted on X. So much of it appears to be generated using artificial intelligence, fake images, a lot of fakery, fake news, propaganda, people posing. And if this is actually Elon Musk posing or putting himself out there with this alternate identity, I suppose it fits right in with everything going on over on X. I'm going to run a little bit of this for you so that you can get a taste of this. This was drawn to my attention because of the feud going on over the immigration thing, and then conservative commentator Laura Loomer, of course, has gone to war. Or maybe I should say Elon Musk has gone to war with some people within the MAGA movement, including Laura Loomer. And she popped up in this X Spaces thing with Musk. But here, I'll play this first clip, and then you just tell me if you think this is Elon Musk, or is it somebody using a voice changer, or is it Elon Musk using a voice changer? The voice, though, some people are just convinced that this is this. Some people say it's him. You tell me, you decide. It's become something of a mystery and a topic of discussion online.
How is this relevant?
Oh, it's not. I just wondered if you wanted a topic change.
No. I think it's important that we address certain elements of history, right? This is important. It's uncomfortable. Nobody wants to do it. We're going to do it because nobody's willing to do it. Because if somebody else is trying to do it, then they do it because they want to enforce some sort of personal ideology on the rest of the world and the perceptions of others. I don't have a personal ideology. I have a personal set of principles, rather. If I had an ideology, I would fight for that which is my genetic origin, but I really don't. I fight for merit. Because right now, what is... Go ahead.
To give you guys the summary, basically, the British had a bunch of kids. One of the kids was the United States. The United States is a kid of a child of the British Empire, and they decided to take Roman ideals instead, get inspiration. They were founded to be the new Roman Empire, and now that America Empire is now literally funding and allowing the existence of every single other child that the British Empire had, along with every other country that doesn't. The entire world now depends on the United States.
So is that Elon Musk? You tell me. I'm looking in the chat. Tell me, was that him? Yes, that's Musk, says Alicia. Yeah, Tinfoil Head says no blue check mark for you. Yeah, because apparently he's being accused of taking away the blue check mark from some conservative voices out there, including Laura Loomer. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's him. That could be, maybe. I don't know. Here's another clip. Let me share this one with you. Okay, now I think this is the one with Laura Loomer. So here she is. Here's Laura Loomer. I think this is Laura Loomer debating. I think it's Laura Loomer. I could be someone just using the cinema. I think she came in and actually identified herself, and you can see her icon on the screen. But here she is engaged in a discussion, a debate, an argument even with, she thinks it's Elon Musk, but it might not be because the name is Adrian Ditmann. So she could be debating something with a guy that isn't even the guy, because we don't really know who the guy is, on a platform that's supposed to be about free speech, but there's so much garbage in with the good stuff on X that you can't tell what's real anymore. Let's listen to the clip.
How exactly is the worldview of censorship? You have to agree on something here. Is it either that you're focusing on immigration, or is it that you're focusing on the censorship? Which are you focusing on especially? Because specifically you were focusing on the immigration, thereby the visas. So what exactly was wrong about the visas?
You're supporting a retaliatory censorship action against...
No, tell me exactly what was wrong with his take on the visas. Specifically, tell me exactly what was wrong with it.
It's completely oppositional to President Trump's original...
In which way? From which perspective? Like, what did he say?
Altogether, I mean, just supporting H-1B visas is in complete opposition to what President Trump said in 2016, and that he wants to eradicate the H-1B visa program.
That is 2016. Welcome to the future. This is the current year of our Lord as 2024.
Promises made, promises kept. You're not original MAGA. You don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not MAGA at all, motherfucker. What are you talking about? I'm not a political individual. I'm like this thing. I'm like a UFO above like some sort of strange walker source that just like is floating there above the psyop layer. That's what I am. I have literally zero political thing with anyone.
Okay.
I don't care.
That's your problem because you don't.
I don't care left, right, center, inside out.
You don't understand us. You don't understand. If you're
oh no, I do understand better than anyone else because you told me to have.
If you're not a member of the political movement, that you're not going to understand why people are so passionate about this issue that they've been fighting against for over 8 years.
You haven't been fighting against shit. You've been spreading misinformation.
I'm not spreading misinformation. I'm sharing President Trump's original policy. You either support President Trump or you don't. You don't get to fucking pick and choose.
2016 is not 2024.
You don't get to fucking pick and choose. You don't get to pick and choose what policies are good for America and what policies define MAGA after President Trump ran for office, okay, and gave the finger to the both political parties and both political establishments in 2016, okay? I'm fucking sick.
He doesn't have any obligations to what he has done in 2016. He has obligations to his voter base and what he promised in 2024, and that's it. That's the end of that. You live in the past. You literally live in the past. You're in everything that's wrong with the movement.
No, I'm not. You don't even know what the fuck the movement is. You just said
you're
you're
the
not
reason. You're probably part of the reason why a lot of people didn't vote for the Republicans after 2016.
No, Donald Trump
because
is the Republican
if
Party.
I was a rational individual and I were to look at this, I would probably do the same. Actually, as a matter of fact.
Oh. So again, do you think that's Musk? I'm not sure. I don't know. In one way or another, there's a lot of bad blood brewing there. I'm not sure that it's him. There's something about the voice. There's a digitization to it that I'm picking up. And makes me wonder if there's some sort of voice changing technology being used. It doesn't sound. Here's another one. Here's another clip. Listen to this one. And again, this is generating all kinds of buzz online. Is this or is this not Elon Musk? Where does he find the time to sit in these spaces? He's running Tesla, SpaceX, now he's involved in politics. Where does he find the time? How is this possible? Listen to this one.
And ironically enough, some elements of the extreme legacy MAGA movement will have to deal with it as well. Because that's how it is. And don't hate the fucking big tech bros. Because out of all of them, Elon is the only one that's giving all of these crackheads a fucking voice. I want you to try and pull that shit on fucking Facebook and see how long you last. You ungrateful motherfuckers, seriously. You keep crying censorship this, censorship that. You're not censored. Your takes just suck. Get over it, and get over yourselves. Honestly. I'm not an enemy of anyone, but if you hate me for saying this, so fucking be it. I don't care. I'm part of what's new. You get to make that choice yourself. Do better. Anyways, thank you all for coming today.
Okay. How to win friends and influence people? Not. What do you think? And if that is Musk, what does that mean about, what do you think that means for his relationship with Trump and MAGA? Alicia says it's Musk, it's Musk. I don't know. And Seize the Day says digital sounding indeed. Yeah, there's something seems off about it to me. Just a little bit. I don't know. Let me take a little break here. I'm going to look for another clip, which I think you'll find amusing, maybe even a little disturbing, depending on your perspective on this. Don't go away. I shall return.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV.
The entire world is watching.
On social media. But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Okay, so just to add another layer of weirdness to all this, how about Elon Musk talking to Adrian Ditmann? Yeah, there's a recording, and that appears to be what this is, of Elon Musk speaking with Adrian Ditmann. Here we go.
Alex Jones thinks it's me?
Yeah, this is part 2. You've met me at least 3 times. You're about to die of laughter, aren't you? Yeah, it's me again. Oh my god. Yeah. This is part 3. I swear, there's nothing. Honestly, there's nothing better than to hear you laugh this much. Like, I can only imagine the kind of stress you're under.
So funny.
Yeah. Dude, for the past couple of weeks, I basically... Oh god, I can't do this.
This is too much. It's so...
Oh my god.
Look, there's 8 billion people on Earth. So
Yes.
odds are there's someone who sounds like you somewhere.
Yes.
And you are that person.
Yes. It gets worse. It gets worse. It gets so much worse. It gets so much worse.
I can't, honestly, I don't believe you're not me.
Yeah, that's a theory.
You are
That's a
me.
theory. People think I'm legitimately your clone. There's been theories that I'm one of your Neuralink experiments. Can you clarify that I'm not one of your Neuralink experiments, or maybe I am and I wouldn't realize it? Because that shit's vast. How are your monkeys?
Well,
how are your monkeys? I don't know. How's your test subject?
No, the weird thing is you even ask questions in the way that I would ask questions.
Autism.
And your sense of humor is quite similar sense of humor. It's eerie.
Yeah, I know. I still remember the first time. God. Oh God. I still remember the first time. I still remember the first time when the first time I found out about you was actually in early 2016. And this is when I watched SpaceX rocket engine experimentations on YouTube. I was like, man, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen. It's going to be next all day. And a significant other actually showed me a video clip of you and said, hey, bro, this guy sounds like an older version of you. I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? Here, this guy, look at him. He's talking about hydrogen. What do you mean he's talking about hydrogen? I listened to this and I was like, what the fuck is going on? So this is the first time I realized that something's not quite right with this world. Probably is like a bug in the simulation. And even if there is one, I'm pretty sure I cause a lot of disruption. Recently, as I'm sure you're aware, there's a mass meltdown. There's like an account that's doing rage farming. So like, it's so good. Like these people, what they've done is they're trying to pin on you that you've suspended an account because it did targeted harassment. Well, it's not suspended. They actually deactivated their account. Now they're trying to do rage farming. Now they're going to spread it on the news everywhere. Be like, dude, I'm complimenting yourself. It's like the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I was gonna let it happen, but then I said, you know what? I don't want thermonuclear warfare just yet for media. Like I'm not gonna have that. Ever since yesterday, even I do Diablo live streams, everything. It's all over the place. It's inescapable now. It's so weird. It's terrible. I like a uniquely case.
I mean, are there pictures of you? Like, what do you look like?
I've seen
a
Adrian.
thinner version of you.
I've seen Adrian. He could be your twin.
Dude, this
I mean, I could.
Are you serious? What are you saying?
I could DM you, dude. I could DM you. If you enable access, I'll tell you everything you need to know. 5 minutes, I'll tell you everything. If you're interested. If you're interested.
Video with you guys revealing each other, that would be pretty funny.
Oh God, yes.
What? No, we should also get that guy from China.
Yeah. I've been thinking about this guy. That would be the weirdest thing ever. That's the holy trifecta. You know the Holy Trinity? There you go. You found it.
Video launch. You have to do it. The three of you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Wait, is that guy real? Because.
That guy? I'm not sure. Maybe he has had some facial modifications. He looks strikingly real. I would say. Deepfakes maybe because the resolution is kind of shit. But I don't know. I don't know. There are various many say Elvis impersonators out there, right? And they would modify their facial structure to look like him. So I think maybe we're seeing a similar case. I mean, they're really advanced down there in China, especially in the medical field. So, like, maybe. I don't know. It would be a really good troll. Good for propaganda, too. I would do it.
Oh, boy. You guys.
Yeah, that would really trip people out.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect, too.
But I mean, yeah. I mean, there's 1.4 billion people in China. If you take the person in China that looks the most like me, it probably looks pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, I have to say, just like to get this out of the gate, I really enjoy this platform. I honestly don't understand why a lot of people complain about it. I feel like it's about how you use it and what you use it for. Like, I use basically every feature on the platform, except for, of course, community notes and some of the newer features like articles and such. I don't have access to that. And I do spaces practically 8 hours a day. 3 times a week. I do. Really? Yeah, all the time. It's nice. I like to use it for information gathering and dissemination. It's like, imagine your brain like a machine learning algorithm. You just need a lot of data, and then you need to curate out of the noise the value. Right? You find the diamonds in the rough. That's essentially what I do, and I do this quite a lot. That's amazing. We find cool stuff out. We cover a lot of events. We covered your earnings call. Your mother was in there. That was so weird.
Oh wait, you talked to what did my mom think?
I have no idea. She was just listening in there, just sitting, and we were having a discussion on the earnings call. She was just sitting in there. She didn't hear me much because I didn't want to interrupt in the conversation, and also I was scared shitless.
No, it's really gonna trip out my mom to hear you talk. Just be like,
oh yeah.
We'll have to clip it. Let's get her
because
in
I mean,
sure, why
I think
not?
she might be asleep.
How's your kid doing? I hear he's a little active in the background there. You doing fine?
Let's see, I'll just text my mom so she's awake.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
This would be the
God,
greatest
that's funny.
space ever if you brought your mother in.
I don't know. Do you think this is him? There's this like him talking to himself, or are these two different people? It sounds here like it's two different people. I'm just not sure. A lot of posts said there, a lot of stories, saying that it's him. A lot of accusations, actually. The thing is, talking a lot about how they use the platform, how he uses the platform, whether it's a good platform or a bad platform, talking about censorship, free speech. And I got to say, I'm alarmed to some degree by what I see going on the platform overall, and especially here. Because this just illustrates again this problem that we have with X, which is that I don't know what the hell is real anymore. So free speech is one thing, right? I'm all for free speech. But I don't know if what we have here on X is actually free speech. Musk says he's a free speech absolutist, which is to say pretty much anything goes. Pretty much. Very few, if any, restrictions on speech. I think that can almost work, but if you have a serious conversation about free speech, you must talk about guardrails, limits to free speech, because everyone's rights need to be protected. So you can't, in my view, you can't go around, threatening to kill people, or you can't shout fire in a movie theater. Those kinds of arguments, right? And there are other issues that come up as well in order to make sure that everyone's rights are protected. I'm not sure if people should have the right to appear on a social media platform using a fake name, making a fake account, maybe even impersonating someone, or maybe even impersonating themselves, or maybe even using artificial intelligence to impersonate themselves. To the point where, and he could do this because he has the resources, he owns the platform, he could have actually been having a conversation with an artificially generated voice through AI that sounds like him and imitates him and is designed to respond like him, and we would never actually know. That Adrian Ditmann might not even be a human being. It's possible with the level of technology today, and Elon Musk could easily do that, or at least more easily than anyone else on the planet, because he has all the resources on the platform to do it. He could just do it on a whim for fun, to just drive people a little bit crazier than they're already driven. I don't think that Twitter has really made the free speech space that much richer. I think in some ways it has given voice back to some people who had their voices taken away through censorship prior to him buying Twitter and turning it into X. But now we have something that I think is heavily polluted as well, to the point where free speech, genuine speech, productive speech, helpful speech, valid speech, even through opposing points of view, are being watered down, flooded out, mixed in, and hard to distinguish from other forms of malicious speech, advertising, misinformation, propaganda, outright lies, fabrications, bots, AI-generated images, just total fakery. I don't think that faking something with the intent of misleading people is free speech. That's like false advertising. That's, I think, maybe even something that we need to look at and regulate or make illegal so that we can actually have true free speech restored. Now, you could say that that's a form of censorship. I would argue that that's probably not censorship. It's like if you are making an advertisement for something and you are lying about it to get people to buy the product, that should be illegal. If you tell people that you've produced a car that never needs gasoline or you never have to charge it up, that would be false advertising. And if you sold the car to someone telling them that that was the case, that would be misleading. It would be false. And I think that people should be held accountable for that. Now, if we have people all the time on X in particular, just saying all kinds of stuff that's just simply not true. And even being dishonest about who they are so that we don't even know who some of these people are. That's leaving us vulnerable to lies, propaganda, and even false advertising, to the point where we have people telling us that all we have to do is join the United States. I just made these notes after that other video that we ran. Just join the United States and your debt will be wiped right out. $1.2 trillion in federal debt will just disappear overnight. You won't ever have to pay that back. You get a clean slate, start all over. Horse hockey. Not true. Now, maybe he's just mistaken. He's made a mistake. Fair enough. Maybe he doesn't understand how the real world works. Or maybe he's out there engaged in something sinister, designed to disrupt and undermine our sovereignty, take away our country. I hear people complaining all the time about foreign influence, foreign actors, corrupt, treasonous politicians in Parliament, identified by CSIS and the RCMP in Canada. And we know they're there. To what degree, we don't know. We don't know what the details are. People are upset about that. But you want to talk about foreign influence, you don't have to look all the way to Parliament. You can look within some of your own political groups. You can look at people who are being influenced right now by foreign governments through social media to the point where they're instantly ready to join the United States, or they want Putin to come here and take over Canada to save us from the U.S., or whatever it is that people are subscribing to. These positions they're taking are largely the result of being exposed to foreign influence through social media. Is that proper? I don't know. I suppose people are entitled to their free speech, and we should, I suppose, have access to all of these different ideas. But if people are going to just straight up outright lie or engage in activity to disrupt and dismantle and tear down our country, our society through platforms like X, sometimes by misrepresenting or even fabricating false identities, I don't know. So if this guy here, even as Adrian Ditmann, if it is Elon Musk, is that appropriate for him to be playing like that? Maybe it's harmless, maybe it isn't, or maybe Adrian Ditmann is actually the guy's real name, but because now he has all this influence because people think he's Elon Musk, he can say all kinds of things. He could say something about the value of Bitcoin, or say that he's going to sell all of his cryptocurrencies tomorrow, and he could see that guy, because so many people would believe that that's actually him, he could manipulate financial markets. He could say he's going to sell all his stock in Tesla on Tuesday. And people would run and either buy or sell stocks or bonds or stocks in the company as a response to whatever that guy says. It's incredible the amount of power that someone in a position like that could actually have. We're dealing with new technology in a new era, and we need to be very careful. Elon Musk himself has said that he's afraid of AI, very worried about it, and yet he's involved directly in the development of artificial intelligence. And our politicians are clearly behind the curve on all of this. Our governments, they're still, I think, stuck trying to figure out, a lot of these guys, how to operate email at a time when we need to be really out in front, ahead of what is happening with the AI technology, in order to make sure that our future as sovereign nation states, and even as human beings, is preserved. It truly does represent an existential threat to all of us. Folks, that gets us to the end of tonight's Maverick News broadcast. I hope it was helpful, enlightening, and not too confusing. I hope it helps get us a little bit closer to the truth in the face of absolute confusion out there on social media platforms like X, which I do value. I'm just concerned about everything else going on with it. But we will muddle our way through together, and our quest for truth will continue tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on The Flip Side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.